Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to be exploring with you today as we dive into a place that honestly, genuinely earns the title of Earth's last miracle. We're looking at the world's largest island, a place where the wildlife is literally at its wildest, the fjords completely defy imagination, and the scale of the ice, man, it makes you feel like you've just stepped onto another planet entirely. As a travel expert, I can tell you right now, just when you think you've seen it all, there is always Greenland. So grab your gear because we are going on the ultimate journey together through this pristine natural sanctuary. But before we actually pack our bags, consider this incredibly fascinating piece of history. Why in the world would the United States offer Denmark $100 million in gold back in 1946 just to purchase Greenland? I mean, adjusted for inflation, that's about $1.6 billion today. And, this isn't just ancient history either. Recently, in January 2025, President Donald Trump reiterated his intention to acquire Greenland. Now, while this idea has been strongly opposed by both Denmark and Greenland, it really highlights something absolutely crucial. Greenland is incredibly valuable. Nestled right there between the Atlantic and Arctic Oceans, its strategic location is completely unmatched. Plus, beneath its retreating ice lie these vast, untapped mineral and energy resources. It's a massive, highly coveted prize on the global stage. Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our travel itinerary for today. We're going to start with Welcome to the Last Miracle, then head over to the Gateway to Ice Trekking, explore Western Wonders and Icebergs, go kayaking the southern fjords, and finally, discover the untamed East. Section 1. Welcome to the Last Miracle, the scale of Greenland. To truly understand this destination, you really have to grasp its utter isolation and just the sheer size of the place. A staggering 80% of Greenland is covered by a massive ice sheet. We're talking second only to Antarctica here. To put that into perspective for you, if this frozen expanse were to melt, global sea levels could rise by about 7 meters. Crazy, right? And yet, despite all that ice, this is definitely not a barren wasteland. It's actually home to some of the oldest rocks on Earth, dating back 3.8 billion years, and an incredible array of wildlife. We're talking narwhals, basically the unicorns of the sea, to Greenland sharks that can literally live for 500 years. And amidst all this vastness, a highly resilient population of only about 50,000 people call this island home, navigating an extreme polar climate where winters just seem to stretch on endlessly. Section 2. Gateway to Ice Trekking, Ilulissat, and the Russell Glacier. Now, because of the extreme harsh terrain here, you can't just rent a car and drive between towns. Actually, scratch that. There are literally no roads connecting the settlements at all. You have to fly, take a boat, or hop in a helicopter. And that brings us to Ilulissat. Originally built as a U.S. military base during the Cold War, this tiny settlement of just about 500 residents is going to be your primary gateway. It has a runway long enough for international flights, which makes it the premier Arctic hub for exploration. It's the absolute perfect staging ground for our first major adventure, mainly because of its direct proximity to the Greenland ice sheet itself. So here is exactly how your first day of adventure plays out. Step 1, you land at Ilulissat. Step 2, you take a short, scenic journey to point 660. This is a remarkable access point where you literally stand right at the threshold of the vast frozen expanse, getting these panoramic views of the ice sheet stretching out as far as the eye can see. And then step 3, you drive right up to the edge of the Russell Glacier. This is the moment where you strap on your crampons for some raw ice trekking, witnessing the absolute, relentless power of the Arctic up close. Honestly, it is an incredibly seamless way to step right off a plane and straight onto a glacier. Section 3. Western Wonders and Icebergs, Ilulissat and the capital of Nuuk. Now, what's really interesting about this part is looking at where the locals actually live. An incredible 90% of Greenland's population resides right along this western coast. Why? Well, because the North Atlantic Current brings these oceanic breezes that actually warm the western shoreline, making it much milder and way more hospitable than the rest of the island. This is where you'll find Nuuk, Greenland's capital. Nestled right between the sea and majestic mountains, Nuuk is this bustling modern city of about 19,000 people. It's brimming with colorful houses, hospitals, schools, and museums. It's really the cultural and educational hub of the island, deeply rooted in Inuit heritage and contemporary art, while all enjoying surprisingly mild temperatures for the Arctic. As we head further north along the west coast, we encounter something truly special, an ice fjord. Now, a regular fjord, like something you might see in Norway, reveals what glaciers have done in the past, right? But an ice fjord,
It's alive. It is a glacially carved landscape that showcases the highly dynamic, ever-changing interaction between ice and water. You are quite literally watching geography happen in real time, right before your very eyes.
And the absolute best place to see this is the Ilulissat Icefjord, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Some of the colossal icebergs here tower an astonishing 100 meters above the water. And remember, that's just the tip of the iceberg, literally, with their total heights nearing a massive 1,000 meters. They are birthed from the Jakobshavn Glacier, which is one of the most active glaciers in the entire northern hemisphere. The sheer scale is just awe-inspiring. Trillions of tons of ice push through this fjord, creating a breathtaking, dramatic spectacle that draws photographers and travelers from all over the globe. Eventually, these massive icebergs get pushed out into Disco Bay, which basically acts as an iceberg graveyard. Here, the dense ice hits the open water and the slow, inevitable process of erosion begins. It's a dramatic, natural life cycle to witness. These icy giants will drift, shrink, and slowly vanish into the warmer waters of the North Atlantic. In fact, it is widely believed that the very iceberg that sank the Titanic originated from these exact Greenlandic glaciers. How wild is that?
Section 4. Kayaking the Southern Fjords, a milder adventure.
Heading south reveals a landscape that is just incredibly rich in deep history, where summer snowmelts actually allow some sparse vegetation to emerge. This brilliantly illustrates how different cultures managed to navigate the exact same challenging environment. On one hand, you had the Norse Viking settlers in the 10th century, who introduced agriculture, basically relying on livestock and hay. But on the other hand, the Inuit communities adapted seamlessly. They did this through hunting, fishing, and creating incredibly intricate art like whalebone carvings that really reflected their deep connection to the environment. Today, you can explore the remnants of both these survival strategies in the UNESCO heritage region of Kuujjuarta, and maybe even ponder the great mystery of why the Norse completely vanished in the 15th century while the Inuit thrived.
Now, South Greenland is also home to the Tassermute Fjord, famously known as Greenland's very own Patagonia. It is a stunning, deeply remote landscape of untamed wilderness that's been shaped by dramatic glacial movements over millennia. Its deep waters and sheer, towering cliffs make it an absolute world-class destination for intrepid adventure seekers who are looking for an experience completely off the beaten path.
And oh man, what an adventure it is. Here are the absolute must-do activities when you visit Tassermute Fjord. First and foremost, kayaking. You have to remember, Greenland is the actual historical birthplace of kayaking. It was a tradition absolutely vital to Arctic survival. So paddling these deep, pristine waters is just a transcendent experience. You can also sail the dramatic topography, hike the untouched wilderness, or hey, if you're a serious thrill seeker, you can rock climb the sheer, jagged granite face of Ullamertorsak. Even just getting there by small boat or aircraft adds to the pure thrill of the whole expedition. Section 5. Discovering the Untamed East, Pristine Wilderness. Now, let's move to our final region and see how this builds, because if you thought the South was wild, you need to prepare yourself for absolute, pristine isolation. Let's clearly contrast what we've seen so far. We started on the western coast, right? It's milder, it's hospitable, has modern amenities, and holds about 90% of the population. But the eastern coast? It is the exact polar opposite. It is rugged, incredibly isolated, sparsely populated, and offers this untouched, pristine polar wilderness. It is completely unfiltered. The undisputed crown jewel of the East is Scoresby Sund. We're talking about the world's largest fjord system, spanning over 350 kilometers. It is a true geological masterpiece carved by Ice Age glaciers. With its towering cliffs and vast, ice-filled waters, it stands as one of the least visited, yet most breathtaking destinations on Earth. For a traveler, it offers just absolute perfect solitude. The history of exploring this rugged coast is just as fascinating, too. Scoresby Sund was first mapped back in 1822 by the British explorer William Scoresby. Then, in the 19th century, the incredibly scenic settlement of Tasiilaq was established as a Danish trading post, one that remains deeply connected to the local Tunumit Inuit heritage. And jumping ahead to 1925, the deeply remote village of Itokor Tormiat was founded. Today, this little village of about 450 residents sits completely surrounded by towering cliffs and Arctic wildlife, beautifully preserving ancient Inuit hunting and fishing traditions right alongside these giant drifting icebergs. And if you keep going north, you reach the absolute extreme, Northeast Greenland National Park. Spanning nearly 1 million square kilometers, it is the largest national park in the entire world. No joke. It's a vast expanse of untouched wilderness where glaciers carve right through rugged mountains. Today, it serves a pretty vital dual purpose. On one hand, it's the ultimate extreme destination for thrill seekers wanting that once-in-a-lifetime Arctic expedition. On the other hand, it is a vital, living laboratory for scientists who are diligently tracking glacial retreat and the real-time impacts of global climate change. Which brings us to our final thought. We started this explainer by talking about the political offers to purchase this massive island. From the $100 million in gold back in 1946 to the renewed interest in 2025. But after seeing the 100-meter icebergs of Ilulissat, the deep kayaking waters of the southern fjords, and the million square kilometers of pristine eastern wilderness, I want to leave you with this question. If Greenland were ever truly up for sale, what price could possibly justify buying a place this epic? Earth's last miracle is, without a doubt, priceless. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope Greenland is now right at the very top of your travel bucket list.